Hey everyone, it's Lee with Arts Council OKC Creative Aging Program, and today we're going to do watercolor mosaics. So we're going to do a little freeform, kind of out of the box watercolor today. So you're going to need number 2 pencil, watercolor paper, watercolors, various sizes of flat and round brushes, big eraser, paper towels of course, and water. So let's get started. Thank you very much. All right, there's that one. So this one, I started this one, and I'll probably finish it up here in a little bit when we're in the middle, but I just kind of wanted to show you how something like this can look in the process. Now, feel free to look at any images of mosaic flowers or basically whatever you want. I like the idea of looking at actual mosaics just so I could see the different shapes. And some are done with just very, regimented edges, like definitely all straight edges. Some are done with lots of different shapes, and you can really just play around and have fun with this. And I'm gonna, ask you all to kind of let go and let flow, as I say. So we're gonna kind of make this up as we go. Basically, start with your basic shape of your flower. So I did a circle, ooh, hello. A circle, and then did the petals. Now some mosaics, they break up the petals with small squares, and I think that would actually have looked really cool. And then I just randomly did different colors in the background. Obviously, this is still in the process. And another thing too, always embrace the mistake. I was experimenting as I usually do, and I tried some big ones down here, and I don't really like it, but that's all right. When I add more small ones around it, it'll be fine. And you can change it up. So part of the process of these videos is just experiencing new things and trying something out. So, all right. What I've done is I just did basic line drawing of the flowers, just super basic. I did not add any squares, any things. I just kind of wanted to have the basic outline of the shape of the flower. I didn't even put any petals in. And what I wanted to do is I just did a really light border, totally freehand, because I like the idea of it kind of being filled in to a certain point instead of going all the way to the edge. You certainly can feel free to go all the way to the edge of your paper. And whatever size, half sheet, full sheet, square, little bitty squares, whatever suits your fancy. First thing is choose a few different sizes of brushes. This is a really good one for flat brushes. And you can do, have some different sizes, bigger and smaller, because we're actually going to be making the shape with the brush. We're not going to outline any of that. And you can have little small flat ones later to fill in, and also you can have rounds, because if you ever want to go back in and add a funky shape and not just a square, that makes it easier with a round. So just figure out which brushes you want to start with and kind of think about your color, what you want to do with that. And let's see. And I kind of want to keep this this size brush. And so what you can do is take one brush, kind of feel how it works for you, and then I think I'm going to use this one for that. So, and change it up if you want. Just kind of get in there and see what happens. And the one thing you want to make sure when you're doing this is that, because this is a fake mosaic, and if you have too much water on your brush, just turn around and suck it off, because what we're trying to do is just kind of use less water and more paint, and I got too much water on my brush, but that's fine. So make sure you leave paper in between, because these are supposed to look like little mosaic tiles. So this exercise and this project, we're really kind of doing using watercolor really is just more of a paint, not necessarily its translucency. You know, we're not really focusing on that. We're just using it with a lot less water this time because we're trying just a little different technique here. And you can change up your colors while you're doing this, but you get the idea. I wanted to just kind of do a really simple one here in the video here, and you can change back and you can add other colors to it. So just kind of play around with it. You can do little short ones, you can have really nice long ones, or they can all be kind of about the same. It's up to you. So, but you can see with the white in between, it really kind of looks like little tiles. So, and then I'm just going to focus on, you can even jump around if you know where you want to have some specific colors. You know, while it's all on the brush, you can just jump around to your different flowers and do that. Just be aware that, you know, if you're going to be dragging your arm across wet paint, you want to hold it up so you're not accidentally touching it. So, and then just remember, we're using more paint, less water today. And then that's why you have paper towels, so you can blot the excess off before you put it on the paper. Because in that way, when you're dragging your brush, then when you lift it up, then you have more of a edge to it. Okay. So it looks more like a cut piece of tile. Yeah. And it's totally fine if, you know, it's a little rounded, it doesn't matter. You guys haven't done this before, I'm assuming, so just kind of play around with it. And you can also just use your brush in different ways. If you like dragging from the side, if that's easier for you, great. If you like just doing long ones, that works too. Do a combination of both. And the pencil lines are just basically to give you kind of an idea of where your placement of things, okay? You could certainly change your mind while you're doing it. So, but it's nice to have kind of a variation if you have some light greens and dark greens, and if you know, your stems could be purple, you know, whatever you want, but it's nice to have a variation of color. Especially since we're really just doing kind of flat color today, whereas we usually, you know, do a lot more color blending, but, and you can come back and do color blending too. That's totally fine, which, you know, I'm a fan of it, so. And then if you have an instance like where you can make one of these longer, you can always go in here and bring this on up. So. And then I have a tendency to get my hand on my paper, so I'm going to put my hand underneath just so I can rest my hand, and then, or you can do, you know, normally if we're drawing, I'd put a piece of paper down, but since we're using wet medium, then I'll just try to avoid that. But, all right, so let's see. Let's do some. Now, I was wanting to kind of do semicircles here, so. And I can do that in a number of ways. I can actually do the semicircle, or I can, you know, do different shapes of, like, pretend like it's the tile are different shapes. So in which case, then you can take a round brush and come over. Oh gosh, that's not a very good one. So we'll use a different brush. And then just come over here and then just do the shape this way. But there are some advantages to just using the actual flat brush as the shape. So because there are some tiles that are just, you know, some mosaics that are all just squares, little squares. So, but whatever you feel like you want to do is fine. Oops. And, you know, if you make mistakes, just keep going, no big deal. But in this instance, you know, just use more paint, less water. And if you need to pull out your brush and just kind of smooth it out. And that way I'll just bring this one up a little higher. Okay. Okay, so this one. Let's see, so I'm thinking about this one as I'm going because I'm just kind of trying something different, but they may need to all be the same, in which case I just need to, what I think I'll do on this, because I think it'll be better for all of them. You can certainly do whatever you want. I just like to show you different ways of doing it, okay? So like if this were one is a tile, then I think it would be more interesting if I add a little purple to it. So then it's kind of color blended. Okay. And then, you know, once this dries a little bit, you'll go back over some of this stuff. Okay. But I just like the idea of that versus having just one big pink. Semicircle, so. Okay. Well. You know, and then if you go, oh, I really don't like that color combination, then later on, that's fine. You can just paint over it to a certain degree. You know, not quite as easy as acrylic, but you can still do it. And like you can even take some of the paint off or blot it off, whatever you think. So you get the idea. Okay. This I kind of got off track, just kind of saying, okay, you can do color blending. You can really do whatever you want. But, okay. Okay, so we're going to let that dry a little bit because we're going to want to come back and explore that color some more. So I'm not going to worry about that. Okay. Now, okay, what I want to do, oh, let's all go ahead and finish that then. Then if you know, then I'll go in here and just use a bigger round brush since I'm gonna make these a little, but I'm not gonna worry about adding the purple yet. I'm just gonna add a little bit of pink right here. Because you get the idea. Okay, so then you want to make sure, like what I'm doing, I'm encroaching on this white space, so I want to kind of come back with drier brush and kind of pull some of that off here. Okay. There we go with some water, but then I've got too much, so I'm gonna pull this up. Okay. All right. Now, and you can have fun with it and just pick different colors, and you know, and if you're like still not really sure about your color combination, take the paper towel and just blot it, and you can think about it. You know, because it's a little funky heavy, that's fine. So we're gonna move on. I'm gonna do, and I kind of want to do some rectangular looking petals. So let's do some blues here. So I just want to start here. And like I said, just be aware of your edge. I kind of get really kind of close because I'm not exactly trying to get close, but and just kind of how you want them to radiate out. And you want to have enough water, but not too much, but that one got a little dry. So did that, goodness. That's good. Like, make sure your paint over here has enough water in it, and then you can take care of it just by making sure your brush is not too wet. And see, I'm just pulling it and kind of pulling it up, kind of stopping at that edge so it keeps it pretty straight. And I'm just gonna and you can keep them kind of similar in length, or you can make some kind of shorter, some a little longer. Okay. And all right. And you can either do similar, you know, do similar colors, different colors, whatever, you know, just like flowers. And see, on this one, I forgot that I had already put a line to tell me how long I really wanted the petals to be. You know, it's just a suggestion to myself that I, even when I get in here, I kind of forget. But just, once you get in here, just see what you think. Kind of looks groovy. So, let's do this one up here. So this one will be a little bit longer. And you can certainly, you don't have to have these straight edges like I was saying. Just whatever, but it's whatever you like. But it kind of is nice, it helps the process to me as far as it's a little less work, and it's kind of fun when you're kind of making this up as you go, so you're letting your tools really help you out, so you're not having to go in and draw each of those individual rectangles. So we can, because you can tell when the brush has more water on it, it kind of has that rounded edge, so. It's okay if things get a little wivery, don't worry, just keep going. We're just having some fun. Okay. You know, you can also have different, you know, multicolored petals and things like that. All right, so I did a little more on this, but not much. But what I wanted to do is another option for if this seems a little too loosey-goosey, I just did a horizon line in here lightly with a pencil. And then I just kind of made some lines, and then all I have done in here is just made other shapes to really kind of give me kind of an idea of where I want to put things. So this way I can, you can still use your brush as the tool, really, but then this way I could go in and kind of quickly put in some of the background shapes. And you can do it randomly too. You can just bounce around if you want. And then you can add in other colors. But then just remember, if you're just putting lines next to each other, then make sure you actually leave, some white space in between. But for those of you who really don't like flying by the seat of your pants the whole way, this is a good way of just kind of giving yourself a bit of a guideline so that you can have a way to, something to see in order to make your shapes. And then this kind of looks a little more mosaic-like than, some of this is a little funny. You can go in here too and make little colors and shapes in there too. I'm still working on this one where I'm adding, other colors and shapes to it too. So, but you can see the process and the progress of things. So really this one is just kind of, definitely by the seat of my pants, which, hey, and you can also go in here and do these differently, like I was saying earlier, more like different squares or whatever you like. But it's kind of fun to kind of let go and let flow, as I say, and just kind of see where the piece takes you. But I also want you to be comfortable when you're doing it, so you're not cussing me out too much. So it's kind of helpful just to have like a guideline as to where your shapes are. So I'll kind of add some of these in here, and then and just really kind of fun. You could just do whatever colors you want. I'm going to kind of mostly stick to yellows and oranges, I think, up here, but and just kind of bounce around. So but this is kind of, so this is just a little something different to kind of give you the the visual look of mosaic, but definitely a lot less time consuming than an actual mosaic. And then this is just another way too for you all to do watercolor a little differently than we normally do. So I like to spice things up and challenge you a little bit. Get out of your comfort zone. Okay, so let's. So you guys can totally do this. This is not, a difficult process. You just kind of have to think about it a little bit beforehand. And then you can totally do this super light. It might be really pretty, just super light. Now you want to come back later and when things have dried and probably add a little more color to some of them, but we're kind of treating watercolor a little more opaquely this time, more like gouache instead of watercolor, and sometimes watercolor doesn't really like it if you're trying to make it really opaque. So another option would just be to do really nice light layers, but we even like to challenge the mediums that are more doing stuff. So but so you're getting the gist of this. So we're just going to go around and then really do try to be careful and make your pencil lines really light so that it's easier to erase later. Some of these are kind of dark, but, and then sometimes if you paint over them, it's harder to erase, but it's really, it'll be okay. Because you're just doing this for the experience. All right, so you can see that I have filled some of this in more, and this is where I just, you know, I lightly drew some shapes for myself, and then I have a horizon line down here. I lowered it a little, so now I'm just going to add in some dark greens and light greens just to kind of add kind of a ground effect here. And I did the same thing down here, so you know, so just kind of, and it's okay if, you know, your shapes aren't exactly how you have them, and, you know, that's fine. Just kind of wanted to bounce around, and I'm adding some dark blue to the green, just to kind of give me some dark green. And then I'll add some light green. I just wanted to give you a couple of different options of ways of doing the mosaic little paintings. You know, this is definitely the one to the left, of course, is really pretty free form, and then the one I'm doing now is, you know, I made it up as I went, but I kind of gave myself a few more guidelines. Yeah, so the main thing is just have fun with it. This is totally doable. I personally think it's kind of cool. It's a different style of drawing and painting. I mean, who doesn't like a mosaic? It's kind of cool, I think. Or a fake mosaic. So, and really have fun. You can make these. This one, you know, definitely is smaller, but I didn't draw anything. I just used the brush as the shape, except for, you know, in here, and I used a smaller brush and just made little marks. And on this one too, I can go back in and use a small brush and do like little bitty squares to kind of fill in those spaces to give it, you know, more of a mosaic look for sure. But just really, you know, anything goes. Just kind of have fun with it. And then to make it less tiring, make your shapes larger. This one was not so bad. It just, you know, you're just making a lot of different brush strokes. You know, you're not making you're drawing individual shapes in there. But once you get started in it, you'll kind of figure out which style you like and which way you're going to go. And you can combine them both for sure. So, you know. And then if you can't see your own pencil lines, don't worry about it. You're just going to make up your own shape here. Yeah. So it's kind of fun, you know. I know we plan out a lot of stuff and have very specific, you know, drawing, you know, details sometimes, but this time, you know, it's kind of nice to branch out and try something that's a little less planned out. So and then too, with same thing with this as with other things, pick it up and move away from it if you're having a hard time seeing it, because sometimes you just need to lift it up and get a different perspective. Because especially when something's a little more abstract, that really is helpful. Because then when you pick it up, you go, oh, it actually is kind of coming together. I definitely have to do that for myself too. So So I'm just going to come in here, but you're getting the picture. Okay, so just you guys can do this. I look forward to seeing the pictures when you're done. Just take your time. There's no rush. You guys have all the time you need. Just main thing, enjoy yourself and take good care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time.